Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna fly with the Xbox version of Flight Simulator 2020 and we're gonna see if it's possible or even doable to fly with an Xbox controller. So to see which controllers or which buttons we should use, we can use the controller view, right? So this is the basic controller view, so you can see that the rudder can be managed with the RT and the LT buttons, and then we've got the camera modifier and the systems modifier. Sorry. To switch from external and internal cockpit, we can use the two screens, and the pause can be accessed via the two or the three stripes. Then we've got the most important buttons, right? Increase and decrease throttle with A and the B, and the X to do the braking, and the Y from Yankee to toggle the autopilot. The buttons, the left, let's say, joystick can be used to toggle the cursor, and that's what you see currently here, right? So I'm now using the left cursor, and also to do the aileron and the elevator. So you can simply increase, decrease the climb or descent rate. The right joystick can be used for the cockpit to look around, and if you push it, then it will, say, reset to the center. And then of course we've got the small gamepad, and that can be used to increase and decrease the flaps by using the up and down button, and then setting the parking brake and releasing the parking brake by pressing left, and toggling the landing gear by pressing the right key. These are just a few buttons, right, which we're going to use. If you go into the, I would say, more advanced menu, which you can access, it's also a little bit frustrating. You think, hey, the cross, simply close the window, but you actually need to go to the top. You can go to the controls options, and in the controls options you will find multiple other options. Like if we would expand, for example, the cockpit, then you see that the LB and the X goes to the next smart screen. So the buttons really showed via that controller view are the default buttons, and are the, I would say, kind of crucial buttons which you should use first. And as you can see, there are far more other buttons or options which you can use, like the LB in combination with the arrow key. If we scroll down, we can use the RB button and the right option. Right, you can see multiple options are here. So let me scroll down a bit. Scrolling down does not go that fast, to be honest. No, it goes much faster. So if we would do the same thing for the instruments and the systems, you will see that if we would toggle the engine instruments, that we can also start and stop the engine by using the RB button and then the arrows. Right, so really encourage you to have a look at these controls, because the controller view inside the game, so not in the controls options view, is, I would say, limited, right? It only contains a few of the most important settings. Well, enough talked. Let's see if we can fly, right? So we can look around. Currently we're somewhere located in Ireland. It's a little bit rainy, as you can see. We can do the same thing from the outside, right? So we can have a look from outside the aircraft. So reset the view by pressing the right joystick and then releasing the parking brake. We're gonna increase the engine speed, and then it's time to take off. One of the, I would say, most difficult things is keeping the aircraft on the taxiway, because you need to do that with different buttons, right? With the, I would say, what is it? With the LT and the RT buttons, and that's, I would say, kind of unnatural, but hey, that's the only option. So we're almost airborne now. You can see it's a little bit shocky, right? So compared to flying with a joystick, which I normally do on my PC, I would say it's a little bit different, and you really need to get used to it to see how it works, because it's kind of nasty. Right, so flying. So we can adjust the options here a bit. So I'm gonna adjust the yaw damper a bit. And again, if you forget which options, you can press the left joystick, then go to the basic controls view and then have a look at them. Keep in mind that if you do that, the aircraft continues to fly, so you need to keep an eye on how the aircraft works.
Type Cessna Skyhawk 2 miles west of Echo India Charlie Bravo 600 feet. Request flight following.
As you heard, that's the flight assistant. And that's something I definitely recommend you to do if you're flying with this aircraft. Then make sure that you're switching on the AI radio communications, because if you don't have a keyboard attached to the Xbox, then you need to open the ATC continuously, and it's kind of frustrating. While I would say if you're using the ATC, then it makes it much easier, because then the co-pilot will fix everything for you. One recommendation is to enable an option, and for that we need to go into the assistance options. Inside the assistance options, you've got a few things which you might want to modify. There's the user experience, which I normally keep on. Then you've got the notifications, which I kept off in this case. But there should also be an option, I'm not trying to find it, is to make sure that the autopilot is, I would say, transcripted. That's the option. That was the word I was searching for. Thought they were here, but I don't see them. In some cases, you will need to find them in general options. That sometimes is a little bit weird, but some of the options are hidden in the options here. So you can go down, instrument view. It's pretty weird. I'm 100% sure that I saw it on the PC version. Probably, maybe it was under accessibility. No, yeah, here it is. So here you can switch on the subtitles, and the subtitles, you need to do it with the right thing. And then let me also disable the cinematic views. So once you've made those changes, right, go back, you saw that it prompted initially to save them. So let me double check if they, I would say, are really set. You can see that I disabled HDR10. And the only reason that I did that is because the screen I'm connected to with my Xbox doesn't support it, right? So here we are. So now we need to wait till the HC does tell something again, and then it will, I would say, help us. So we're now flying around, right? And as you can see, it's a kind of crappy weather, to be honest. It's really cloudy. You can look around with the joystick, right, as mentioned, and you can see that it's raining as we speak. And here is the autopilot, right? So here you can now see, okay, hey, what does the autopilot say? In some cases that might be useful if you're flying around.
The Charlie airspace.
So we're currently
cleared through Charlie airspace, Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
We need to keep an eye on it, right? Because you saw that we're decreasing and then speed directly increases. So other things can be managed like this, but as you can already see, it's, I would say, kind of difficult, right? Of course you can select the options here and then start turning things, or switch on the autopilot. By using these options, but it's not that easy to be honest. Right, you can switch on the autopilot, as we just did, and then we can, for example, say, okay, hey,
Cork approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf
let's set
Sierra
the
Alpha
altitude.
2,800 feet.
The two buttons here.
Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha Cork approach altimeter train 0.12 continue as planned.
Cork approach Cessna Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra Alpha. Request
Change it, right? We need first need to select it by pressing A, and then we can change it. Let's set it to 1,000 feet.
Cleared through Charlie airspace Cessna Golf Sierra Alpha.
Then release the controller, or release the option with the B, and then you can switch on the altitude. But of course, the question is where to find it, and as you can see, it's damn hard to figure out, right? Because it's really small. So I now set on the flight level change. That will make sure that we're climbing to a certain range, and then it will automatically level off at that specific altitude. So one of the things which you probably already, I would say, saw is that it's really difficult to look at certain options. So let's figure out if we can use the zoom option, right? So we go into the controller options, and in the control options you can search. For example, let's search for zoom. Zoom. And there you will see that I would say there are some options which are called zoom, but they're not assigned yet to any keys, which means that we're simply, let's say, can press any key or any key combination that we want, but it will not work, right? So what we can do is try to see if there's another option. So we're gonna remove the filter here. Then we get all the options. But what you can do is you can change the option here to say, okay, hey, I only want to see the assigned keys, which means that it will only show you the options which are mapped to a certain key combination, right? So let's go to the cockpit view. Look left, look right. That's what we already have done. Quick view right. Trying to figure out if there's another option to, I would say, really zoom in. LB. There's not really an option, right? Cockpit look down, up. There's not really an option to, let's say, zoom in inside the cockpit. So that's probably something I want to investigate, right? Can we do it? Can we zoom into the option? Because I would say using it like this is doable, but again, it's kind of hard, right? So you need to keep an eye on that the autopilot is activated. By the way, you can always press the Yankee key on your keyboard, or sorry, on your joystick. You see, I need to get used to it, to activate the autopilot. So in this case, the autopilot is activated. We're climbing with roughly 450, 500 feet per minute. It's decreasing a bit depending on the speed, right? Because with the flight level change, it tries to keep a certain speed when flying. And there's one thing which you need to remember is that you need to press the left button or the left joystick, and then you can control the remaining options. So let me see if we can zoom into something. Not really, right? It looks like we can say control the buttons here, but there's no option to really zoom in. So that's definitely something I'm gonna figure out, is how can I zoom in, because I would say it's pretty hard with the Xbox having a look at these small buttons which are here, right? I know that this is the autopilot, this is the flight director, this is the alt, this is the heading, and some other options. So another option could be to, I would say, enable the options to show the, I would say, button names, right? You can do that in assistance options, and inside the assistance options you have the notifications, and you can show the control options. So if we would do this and press save, now we of course need to go inside, then it will give you some hints and tips. but if I'm correct, it also should show the option here. It doesn't look like, right? So let me figure out, because there is another option in that case. Probably then it's in the accessibility view again. So we're gonna go in this, yeah, here it is. So what you can do is you can switch this one on. And then go back to the previous view, and then it will show you the option, right? So this makes it easier to figure out, okay, hey, what's the option? But ideally, I would say you don't want to switch on that option, so let's switch it off. Maybe initially you want to switch it on, but there should be an option now which will allow you to zoom in or out. So that's something I'm gonna try to figure out, and probably when I found it out, post a new video about it. So we looked at the control options, right? We looked at the major control options, and then we looked into the in the major control options, in the, I'd say, most important control options, and then we looked at some details which can be found here in the controls options view. Here you can, for example, also see that you can do the throttle cut, right? When pressing A and B together, and that's not, I would say, listed in the most important views. Other things like, okay, autopilot with heading hold or altitude hold, right? There are all shortcuts for that. So probably you need to write them down on a piece of paper, because they might be pretty hard to figure or to remember, right? So a lot of options. Let me look at the flight options, right? You can select the heading bug, select the altitude bug, how to start the engine, how to stop the engine, miscellaneous, what's listed there, the interaction lock, the cursor toggle, how you can do it, and then we've got the camera view, right, which we just looked at, and the camera mode switches, how you can switch from one view to the other view, instrument views, right, so you can go to the press the left button and then go left or right. Hey, maybe that's an option too, I would say. Let me try it while speaking. Doesn't work. Did we press the correct option? Let me double check again. I thought, hey, maybe we found the magic there. So let's go to the camera options again. Instrument view. It's the LB key and then pressing left or right. Okay, let's try it again. Doesn't look like the option, to be honest. Maybe you need to select it first. No. You see that these options are not, I would say, working correctly, or maybe I'm using it incorrectly, but they're not acting as you would expect. So here ends this tutorial about how to use the Xbox controller. Again, I challenge myself by using the Xbox controller. Normally I fly with a joystick, right? I've got the Thrustmaster TC 1600 with a, I would say, separate throttle. So now I challenge myself to use the Xbox controller connected to my Xbox Series X, right? So I really like, let's say, the performance of it. It's great, but again, the controllers, I would say, probably I need to get used to it a little bit more. But I will keep you posted about, I would say, my experiences and some new hints and tips which I will find when playing Flight Simulator 2020 on the Xbox. Here ends this video. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below the video. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.